Greetings and welcome to Caribbean Vanguard. In this video, we're going to talk about how most black Christians and black people think versus how most Jews and white people think. The video I'm about to share with you clearly highlights the thinking of those who are doing well as a community and those who are not. Those who learn from history and those who disregard history. Jesse Lee is a black conservative pastor, and honestly, I do enjoy some of his interviews, some of his videos. I agree with some of his perspective. However, it is clear that he's missing some key ingredients, and that is the foundation. He's missing the foundation, and without a solid foundation, you can build a house that looks as pretty as ever, but it's only a matter of time until that house come crumbling down. And that is what I see with many black conservative, many black liberal, whether you're in the US, whether you're in the Caribbean, anywhere in the world. Once you get involved with another man's system, once you move into another man's house and disregard building your own, then you are lacking foundation. Therefore, you can easily be erased. So with that, I would like you to take a listen to this dialogue between Jesse and a Zionist called Joseph Cohen as they engage in a discussion about fear.
I noticed that anytime you have fear, when a person have fear, they're afraid of other people, or they're afraid of situations, they have fear inside, and most people do. I noticed that anyone that has fear bring trouble upon themselves, and all kinds of trouble. They bring it upon themselves because of the fear they have, the spirit of fear, and they bring on situations, they bring it upon themselves. I noticed that with the Jews, they seem to have fear that they're going to be attacked again in the way that it happened with the Holocaust. They've been forever afraid of that. And in having that fear like that, even when nothing was happening, is it possible that the fear of the Jewish people, they are bringing these situations upon themselves?
So no, fear is a very, very healthy emotion to have. We have it it's a survival mechanism. If you are in a lion's den and you're not fearful of the lion, you're going to get killed. It doesn't mean you have to leave the den. You can channel that fear and work out what to do in a situation. So the Jewish people, we have a history of persecution, but we've learned from that persecution, and we learn from that persecution. You're like, if you speak to any Jew today, any Jew, two words are the Jewish response that they will give you to the Holocaust: never again. Never again. What does that mean? For a Jewish person, it means never again will we allow ourselves to be in such a vulnerable position where we are entirely dependent on other people for our salvation. So in the past, when tyrants rose up to massacre us, we were dependent on mighty powers to come to our assistance, a king to open his borders to us, a ruler to remove their boot from our neck. Today, that's not the case. Today, the Jews have a sanctuary. We have a safe haven, but more importantly, we have a military that is able to defend us. So we are not fearful, we are not cowardly, but we are aware of our history, and we have vowed never to let that happen again, which is why the state of Israel is so important for Jewish survival. The state of Israel ensures that never again will a Jew have to beg for our people's survival.
You said that fear is good, but fear is not of God. Fear is of Satan, of evil. And when Daniel was in the lion's den, one of the great things about Daniel is that he did not fear the lion. And I noticed that people who don't have fear, they have true power. And the power is not something you possess of yourself, but it comes from God, right? And those who do have fear lack power, and they're always doing different things to try to create power for themselves, try to make it happen. So fear is not of God. And since fear is, and I'm not talking about practical fear, going in the hood and getting beat up by some black guy or something. I'm talking about the other fear that lives in people who have anger. So fear is not of God. So if fear is not of God, how can it be good?
Jesse told Joseph that anyone who has fear bring trouble upon themselves. He says that fear comes from the devil. He told the Zionists that Jews seem to have fear that they will be attacked as they did during the Holocaust, even when nothing is happening to them. And he followed that up with a question. Is it possible that by doing this, you're bringing a lot of the situations that are happening today on yourself? This is a black man from the West in a community that is so segregated, a community that is not doing well as a group, a community that is getting erased. He is preaching to a Jewish man whose community is doing very well. Very, very well. They have bounced back, unlike the black community who hit the ground and stayed down. The Jewish man responded to his question by saying, no, that is not true at all. He said that fear is a healthy emotion and it is a mechanism of survival. And he continued building upon that by saying that the Jewish people have a history of persecution and they have learned from their persecution, which is something the black people seem to not learn from at all. At all. And to prove that the Jews have learned from their persecution, they make their history a part of their education system and they pass it from one generation to the next so that history does not repeat itself. The Zionist Joseph Cohen said that if you speak to any Jewish person today about the Holocaust, you will hear two words, and those two words are never again. Never again will they allow themselves to be in such a vulnerable position where they are entirely dependent on another group of people for their salvation. In the meanwhile, the black people in the West, who's been through the biggest Holocaust, a Holocaust that they have not recovered from to this day, have totally put their faith in religion, in a God that none of them has ever met, in a God that was pushed upon them by their oppressors. They are totally dependent on the ancestors of those who prosecuted their ancestors. Such is not the case with the Jews. The Nazis do not educate their children about their history. Therefore, their history is not watered down. The Holocaust is not watered down. And I understand circumstances was different because they were able to get supported by many of their own people. However, it is not an excuse for us not doing what we can with all the information we have today to rebuild what was lost or what was taken from us. The Zionists went on to say that the Jews now have a sanctuary and they have a military to defend them. This is not like your government or the military in the Caribbean, who totally disregard the history of the people or disregard the people and is open up to everything. The Jewish man said they are fearful, but they are not cowardly. They are aware of history and have vowed to never let it happen again. And that's why the state of Israel is important for Jewish survival. When he said Jewish, think about the ones who went through the Holocaust. This is not talking about everyone. Everyone cannot be a Jew. They're talking about a people. You cannot naturalize and become a Jew. It don't work like that. Where is our nation? Isn't it important that we have our own nation and our military as well? And after the Jewish man gave Jesse Lee such a profound breakdown of fear, anyone who is reasonable would understand where he's coming from. But Jesse responded by saying, fear is not of God, fear is of Satan. And that people who have fear lack true power. Now, Jesse is in a country that has one of the most sophisticated military in the world. He's living within that bubble, and he's speaking like that. It seems to me that Jesse is confusing the word fear with anger. The Jewish man said if you ask any Jew today about the Holocaust, they would tell you never again. If you ask black people in the West about their Holocaust, they're not going to respond with any such thing. They would probably be like, that's a long time ago, or whatever the case. They don't care if it happens again or not. They are living in such a delusion that they don't believe that it could happen to them again. Unlike the Jews, who said they will never again allow themselves to be placed in such a vulnerable position, black people rather continue living a lie. If shit hits the fan today, they are so unorganized, so disorganized, that they will easily be ran over. Today, they can be packed up easily, put on trains, ship, boats, and put into slavery again. And of course, I would never wish such thing to happen. But many of our ancestors tried to warn us. They have been trying, and we, many of us, turn against them, work against them, and brought them down to the ground. The Jews are not in a position where their oppressors rule over them or educate their children. They are not in a position where the ancestors of the Nazis rule over them or educate their children. Such is not the case with us. That is the difference between the Jews and the Caribbean people, as well as the American black people. The Jews have bounced back, and the African people have hit the ground and stayed down. And we try to justify not rebuilding, but instead celebrate moving into another man's house or another man's system. And it is such an embarrassment. It is such a shame. How can grown men and women complain about Africans selling them into slavery, but in modern day time we are selling our youths into slavery? It hasn't changed. The same thing is happening again, but in a different way. If we are not building our own, if we are not moving towards self-sustainment, if we are not moving towards unity, there's no reason why it should be so hard for an African to travel from one country in the Caribbean to the next. But we allow people to continually divide and rule over us because we don't see ourselves as a people anymore, and we wonder why there's so much violence from us against each other when we don't teach our youths in the school that you are a people that have faced some unique things together. You are a people and you should not have to rely on another people, same as the other people does not have to rely on us. But when people like me speak like this, then you get those Christian-minded people who come and say, we are all humans, as if anyone are saying we are not all humans. Because we are all humans, we have to rely on another group of people. We come up with the most ridiculous nonsense when we don't want to take responsibility. And because some people don't want to take responsibility and grow, they want to bring down everyone else who they see are trying to make a difference or want to change things around. They've done it to many of our ancestors. We got the Eufros. They're Afros, but their mindset is so corrupt. And you can't take it light with these type of people. These are the same one who sold you out many times. They will destroy you. They will kill you. They are wicked. They're evil people, many of them. But that's all I have for now. Until next time, be blessed.